Hi guys, so in this lesson we're going to be talking about ways to make these really hard edges appear a little more smooth or a little more natural for use in film or game or render, because let's be honest here, unless we're in Minecraft world, these really hard polygonal edges like these just don't stand up. So let me show you what I'm talking about, and then we'll go in show you how it is different ways that we can do that. So it's actually pretty simple. So under Edit Mesh, there's a tool called Bevel. It lives about right here. So if we open the option box for this tool, we can see that we have a couple things that we have control over. And what we're going to want to change is the width, the number of segments. Those are the two things that we're going to want to change here. Okay. So let's go ahead and add 2 segments and 0.5 width. That's not that bad. Let's do 0.075 width, okay? And let's apply that bevel. So what this width is actually right here is a fraction of a unit, and a unit is actually 1 square here. So 0.075 is actually less than a tenth of a unit, less than 0.1, less than a tenth of a unit. So that's how I came up with that number. And see what it did to my object is it only worked on the edges. It doesn't work on the faces. It doesn't work on vertexes. It works on edges. And look what it did. It allowed light to hit those edges, whereas before, go back, there is no light hitting this edge. Therefore, for rendering for games and everything in between, it's just it's a must. So I just hit G just now to redo the last tool. So this is a beveled cube on all 12 on all 12 edges that exist here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a bevel on all 12 with 2 segments, so 1 on either side. So what you get here is 3 edges to define a smooth corner. Now, I can also do what's called subdivision surfaces preview in Maya by hitting the number 3 key. And what this does is it gives us a preview of our mesh if it were subdivided further or smooth. 1, 3, 1. This hits 3, back to 1, which is what we actually have. 3, which is a subdivision preview. All subdivision preview, I'm hitting 1 again to go back to this, is a preview of what you get if you were to select your object, go to Mesh, and smooth it, and add an incredible more amount of, much more resolution to it. See, so that's a completely smoothed object, not previewed smooth, but actually smooth. Using the actual smooth tool. So the 3 key is just something we can use to kind of take a look at, hey, when we go to smooth this object, how is it going to look? Okay, so switching between 3 and 1 there. So these are bevels on a cube. Now, what if you didn't want the bevels everywhere on a cube? What if you only wanted it on certain edges? So you can actually pinpoint those edges simply by clicking the edges you want to bevel and running the operation just with them selected. See? And does some funky stuff here, and as you notice, if you hit subdivision preview, without those bevels, the cube has nothing to stand on when it's subdivided. So not only do bevels allow for light to hit the edges and to get a nice little render or look, but they also hold the mesh together as it's smoothed or previewed. So you see what's happening here when I hit 3. This cube is just sunken in because there's no supporting edges. Now if I go Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop, a tool you should know by now, and I insert an edge loop there and an edge loop there and then hit 3. Notice how that all of a sudden starts to retain its shape. There. See what's happening here? So it's actually the edge loops that define how this mesh acts when it's smooth. That is a messy piece of geometry there, I'll tell you that. I'll delete that. So when we don't want to use the bevel tool on all the edges, we could select the edges we want to bevel and just bevel them there, but we saw the kind of effects that happen. Another way we can accomplish this is in object mode. We can go to Edit Mesh, Insert Edge Loop, and we can actually make our own bevels. I don't necessarily recommend doing it this way for all cases because it can get pretty messy, but it works. It works, and it's a little less accurate and a little less consistent. Now, what was I doing right there? What am I doing? What am I looking for? I am looking to see that all 12 of these edges have 2 supporting edges as well as the edge that defines that edge. So the edge that defines this edge is right, oh gosh, hit Q to get out of that tool, that defines this edge mode, is right here. And then these are the 2 supporting edges. And what that creates is a nice crisp surface when subdivided or previewed subdivided. Okay, if I were to miss any one of these, I'll double click it, hit Control and Delete to get rid of the vertex associated with it. Notice what happens to my cube. Now maybe that's the desired effect. Maybe that's actually what you wanted, right? So you have a little bit of control here when you have Insert Edge Loop and actually picking what edges you want to be beveled. So that's the Bevel tool, and I totally think that it's worth time getting used to using the Bevel tool, knowing what edges need to be beveled, how far away the two supporting edges need to be in order to create a particular roundness or a certain radius. So if I want, so watch, I'll insert edge loops manually, very far away from the edge here. Both of them very far away from the edge. And then on this one I'll put them pretty close. And I mean, what is it that you think is going to happen here? So if I hit, well, that one actually kind of messed with the other one because it was on the same edge. So you have this one, which is pretty far away over here. Let me click over here. I'll just do one at a time, to be honest. So you have this nice crisp radius right here. And if I hit one and go over here, and I do a tighter one over here, a tighter bevel. They're interfering with each other, so I wasn't able to do them both at the same time. You see that that's a much different edge than we had produced over here before. See? With that distance. So that distance twice over that distance twice is much of a different effect. So you create a different radius corner. So we're going to play with this for a little while, and our goal is to actually create a couple beveled objects. So what's up, buddy? Okay, so we're going to create a couple beveled objects here, and this is just for basic play, okay? And so if you just follow along here, I'm inserting 2 edge loops on this cube. I'm going to grab this face, I'm going to extrude it upwards, just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bevel these inside edges right here. We just want to practice. We want to practice beveling objects and taking a look at what happens. So it really doesn't matter what shape the object is as long as we're practicing the Bevel tool. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at what happens there. Awesome. Let's go further on that. So, I mean, rather than just pinpointing those exact edges there, what if we just ran the operation on this object in object mode? Where is he? Where is he? There he is. Look at that. Very crisp, very nice. So, I'm digging. I like it. Okay, that's not subdivided, which still you get the nice little crease or the nice beveled edge. So you know when things are beveled right away. It looks so much better, guys. I mean, let's go back before we added those. Look at edge doesn't hit the light doesn't hit the edges, and you get absolutely no definition, or you get very little occlusion, like right here. Whereas when it's beveled, edit, redo. Oh, I'll just bevel it right here. When it's beveled, look at that. You don't lose that crease right there. Okay. So there are a lot of importances to beveling. So we're going to create quite a few shapes here. I'd like to see, 3 or 4 shapes of different types, different extrusions on them. Pretty random, just beveled, So boom, bada boom. I like to use edge loops to kind of define this stuff. But in fact, in this one, let's just take this face here, Q. Let's scale it in. And then let's see here. What do we want to do? Let's create 2 different types of bevels here. Let's create like 2 different size bevels. So let's do like a really tight, a really loose bevel here, and a really tight bevel on the bottom. Now what's interesting is if you go to bevel these surfaces here, you see, oh man, I get all this extra data that is like basically going along these edges here, and it's not very straight. So thanks. I do like the penguin profile pic. It's called Bats Maru, by the way. So what we have here is like, okay, the angle changes as we get down here. We can move those vertexes over and kind of clean it up. But there's another way to do this shape, and let me show it to you. It's the fact that I can't basically add in an edge loop that just makes a square on the inside of this square is a problem. So I can select the face, hit Q, delete the face, and then if I select this edge loop here, and I hit extrude, hit R, while holding control, pull inwards, I can create that bevel. See? Do you see this? And then I can hit extrude again, hit R, hold control, and pull it in further. and I can fill this hole right here. That's not a big deal. And I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom, but I'm going to do a different bevel on the bottom, because that's the whole point of this exercise, is trying to do some different stuff. And I hit R and pull it in about, I'd say that far on this one. No, we're going to have this bevel be a lot tighter. That's what we were going to do. We're going to make this bevel a lot tighter. And then on this next extrusion, I could just pull it all the way in. See, I went past itself there. There we go. There we go. Just pull it all the way in. And before I fill that, let's add a couple edge loops in real quick. Let's add one right here, a really tight one. There we go. And then let's right click, null space over here, get out of that, hit Q, select our object, go to mesh and fill hole. What that does is it fills these holes on the top and the bottom right there, okay? And then let's do subdivision preview mode. Check it out. Check it out. Not bad. We could have done that with a cylinder, right? So if we wanted to maintain some of these edges here, all we have to do is select those edges. Hello. Just like that. Yeah, we could double click it, and then we'll just... Actually, I'd rather not. Let's select like that, and then unselect this. That's the way I want to select all 4 of those edges. It takes less time to do it like that for me. And so I selected all of them with a marquee selection, and then I just hold Control to remove some items from my selection until I get only these 4 edges here, and then I can run the operation just like this. Just like that. Oh, looks like we got a little hiccup over here. What happened? Oh, I had one extra edge. There we go. I could tell that was wrong right away. There we go. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, he saw it. He saw it. What a troll. Now, notice how these aren't really close in right here. Let's add another edge loop there. Oh, see, we can't actually add an edge loop here. Now, it's because there is, right here, do you see these? This is actually a good point. These vertexes right here, let me try to get them close on. Right here, make these faces here. These faces aren't quads anymore. It looks like they only have 4 sides to them. A quad has 4 sides, but it actually has an extra side on both sides. So it's actually 6 sides. Each one is a hexagon. And so edge loops only work on quads. And so how do I go about putting in an edge loop there if I wanted to? Well, I could use this one here. I could use this edge loop here that I created on the extrude. And that's what I'm going to do. But if I wanted to just create an edge loop arbitrarily somewhere that isn't a quad, then I get to use the special tool. Down here in the script editor, you could just type it in, because they removed it from Maya after 2013. Split polygon tool. You got to capitalize the S. I think I put an extra letter in there. The S, the P, and the T, and go ahead and run that operation. And what happens is, oh, you get the little click, drag on first edge. Same instruction you get when you do insert edge loop. But this one, you click there, and let's click on a corresponding edge loop and see what happens. And then you have to hit Y to continue using the tool. So Y drags, it'll lock to that vertex, and we just keep drawing. Hit Y, it'll lock to that vertex. Hit Y. If I don't hit Y, then the tool won't continue being used. Okay. Now I can hit enter at any time to exit the tool. There we go, and enter. There we go. That is our awesome little shape we created with bevels. We have this shape here. So we want to create about 3 or 4 shapes like this. Just practice, play around, and get a good understanding of bevel before we move on to the next step.